Good morning, children. I have come up with the next topic, metals and non-metals. All of us know that there are 118 elements. We know till date, though we know more than that, but still we are studying only 118. These elements, they are pure substances, and depending upon their properties, they are divided into two broad categories, metals and non-metals. Although a third category is also there, known as metalloids, which have properties in between metals and non-metals. But primarily in this chapter, we will study about metals and non-metals. Out of these 118 elements, 92 are metals, that is bulk is metal and rest are non-metals. Non-metals are about 22 and rest are metalloids. So this is how the number of metals and non-metals is there in elements. Now about the abundance of metals on earth crust. So aluminium is the most abundant metal on earth. Next come to calcium. If we talk about non-metals, then oxygen, about 50%, is the most abundant on earth crust. It is present in the atmosphere and also in the form of the oxides. And next to oxygen is silicon, Si. It is also present in quite enough amount in earth crust. So this is about metal and non-metal. First of all, I will give you some examples of metals and non-metals which we all see in our day-to-day life. So the most common metals we see are iron. All of you should know the symbols of these metals and non-metals, as you have studied these metal and non-metal in 9th class. So I will write only symbols and not the full name of the metal and non-metal. So Fe, all of you know, is iron. So the most common metal we use in our day-to-day life are iron, then copper, then aluminium, then gold we use for jewelry, then silver, then zinc. So many. Magnesium, sodium, calcium, potassium. So these are some of the metals. These are the examples of metals. We have 92, but these are the common. Many more are there, but iron, copper, aluminium, gold, silver, zinc, magnesium, sodium, potassium and calcium. These are some of the common metals. More are there. And if we talk about non-metal, so most common we know the gases in the atmosphere: oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, sulfur, phosphorus, nitrogen. All these are chlorine, bromine, iodine. So all these are non-metals. So you can see most of them here except carbon, sulfur, potassium, this phosphorus, all of them are, also this bromine, all of them are gases. So mostly these non-metals are in the form of gases. 11 gases are there, 1 liquid is there, and about 10 solids are there. Whereas metals are mostly solids, and only one exception is there, and that is of mercury, which is liquid at room temperature. So this is about some of the examples of metals and non-metals. Now we will study the comparison between metals and non-metals. So all of you take out your pens and notebooks and you start writing what I will write on this paper or whiteboard. So on this side we will write metals. So it is not working. So on this side I will write metals, and here metals, and here non-metals. So on this side I am writing metals, and on this side non-metals. So what is the first point? The first point is we should know what are metals. Which elements we call metals and which elements we call non-metals. So very simple, all of you have learned in your 9th about the structure of atom and the electronic configuration of different atoms or different elements. Suppose we know sodium, potassium, magnesium, these are metals, common metals. Sodium has atomic number 11, this has 12, aluminium has 13, this has 19. So these are the atomic number. Suppose I draw the EC of Na, this is nucleus, first orbit, second orbit, 2, 8, and this will be the third orbit. So the electronic configuration of sodium will be 2, 8, 1. What does it mean? That in the last shell, in the valence shell, only one electron is present. Likewise, if I talk about magnesium, magnesium will have 2, 8, 2. That is in the last shell, 2 electrons are present. Like aluminium, it will have 2, 8, 3. In the last shell, it is having, or the valence shell, it is having only 3 electrons. So the elements which are having 1 or 2 or 3 electrons in the last shell, they are categorized in metals. This is one definition. That is the elements having 1 electron or 2 electron or 3 electron in the last shell. You can see, suppose I am taking calcium. The number is 20, so it will have 2, 8, 8, 2. Though the atomic number is 20, but still in the last shell only 2 electrons are there. That's why calcium is also a metal. So the elements which are having 1, 2, 3, 1 or 2 or 3 electrons in the valence shell or the last shell, they are categorized under metals. This is one thing what metals are. The second, which are derived from the same concept, is when the electron is 1, 2 and 3, they can lose these electrons very easily. Lose means they can donate 1, 2 or 3 electron very easily to the other element. And so they are the donors of electrons. When they donate this electron, they form cations or the positive ions. That's why they are known as electropositive. We can see with the example of sodium. Sodium has, we will talk about only the electron shell or the last shell or the valence shell having 1, 2 or 3 electrons. Suppose we are talking about this sodium. This sodium loses 1 electron. Why it is losing 1 electron? Because every element, it wants to be in a stable state, and when this stable state will reach, when the last shell will have the octet state, or it is having 8 electrons in the valence shell. So this sodium, it gives 1 electron plus sodium cation, having 1 plus charge will be formed. So when the atom has the plus charge, it is known as cation. All of you know. And how you remember whether plus is cation? This T we can write as plus sign. So sodium is cation or positively charged. So it is known as electropositive. So now what points are we adding to the definition of metal? 1, in the valence shell they are having 1 or 2 or 3 electrons. Second, they can lose the valence shell electron easily and form cation. And the third, they are the donors of electron. And the fourth, they are electropositive in nature. Why we are calling them electropositive? Because they are forming cations. So this is the definition of metal. Now we will see how we can define non-metals. Non-metals, they are having four they are having 4, 5, 6 or 7 electrons in the valence shell or the last shell. And inert gases, they are also included in non-metals, though we are not very sure are they non-metal or not, but they are included in non-metal, and in their last shell they have 8 electrons. That's why they are stable. That's why they are inert or non-reactive, and that's why we call them noble gases or inert gases. But rest of the non-metals, they may have 4, 5, 6 or 7 electrons in their valence shell. So it is not easy to lose so many electrons to the other element. So what did they do? They take or accept 1 or 2 or 3 electrons from the other element to become stable or to have 8 electrons in their last shell. We can understand by some example. Suppose there is chlorine. What is it? Is 17. The number is 17. So this will be the EC or electronic configuration 287. In the last shell 7 electrons will be there. So it is easy for chlorine to take 1 and become 288. So chlorine will accept 1 electron and it will become chlorine minus 1. So it will become chlorine anion. When the negative charge is there on an element or an atom, it is known as anion or negatively charged ion or anion. So what we understand by this, that non-metals, they form anions, so they are known as negatively charged ions, or they are known as electronegative, or the quality is electronegativity. Electronegativity is present in non-metals while electropositivity is present in metals. And these non-metals, they accept electrons. So they are acceptors while these are donors. And they form anions and they form cations. So again, the definition of non-metal is the elements having 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 electrons in the outer shell. Second, forming anions. Third, having electronegativity, or they are electronegative. Fourth one, they are acceptors. They accept the electrons. So this is how we can define metals and non-metals depending upon the ions formed by them and their electronic configuration or EC. This is about the definition of metals and non-metals, and now we will do some physical properties of metals and non-metals. So write the next one, physical properties and you try to learn more examples of metals or non-metals from your book. So the second point now is about their physical state, about the physical state of metals and non-metals. Normally metals are solid. All the metals are solid only, and we have to remember, we have to learn exceptions in every point. The important thing is we have to learn exceptions with the name of the element, name of the metal or non-metal. These exceptions are very important and these are being asked in the exam. So physical state, you know, three states are there: solid, liquid and gas. So metals are normally solids. The exception, I will write for exception EX. This is not example, this is exception. Exception. Exception, what is the exception? Is mercury. Mercury is liquid at room temperature. This is the only exception, and somewhat we can say gallium also. Gallium is solid otherwise, but with a slight increase in temperature, if we put gallium on our palm, with our body heat, it becomes liquid. So we can say gallium, when we handle gallium, it becomes liquid. So the exception, it is liquid and it becomes liquid. So these two are the exception of physical state. Here, most of them, they are gases. 11 are gases, and the exception is one is liquid. What is this liquid? Bromine is liquid at room temperature, and the rest are solids. So non-metals, they are present in all the three states. Gases, most of them are gases, like you know, oxygen, nitrogen, and what else? Hydrogen. These are chlorine, bromine, iodine. Not bromine and iodine, but chlorine, they are gases at room temperature. So most of them are gases and inert gases also. Liquid, only bromine is liquid at room temperature, and iodine is also solid at room temperature. Iodine is also solid and rest are also solid. So this is how the physical state of metal and non-metal is there. And now the third point is about few other physical properties. The next is luster. Luster means shining. All of we have seen gold jewelry, it is shining. So when metals, they are rubbed and they are cleaned, they are polished, their surface starts shining, and this is known as metallic luster or the shining surface. So most of the metals, they are having luster or shining surface when they are cleaned and polished. Here again exception is there, lead. This is the formula for lead. Lead is dull in appearance. It is not shining, it is an exception. You have to learn all the exceptions which I am giving you under these points. Now, what is there in non-metals? About luster, they are non-lustrous. That is, they do not shine. But again, it means they are dull in appearance. But again, the exception, all of you know, diamond. Diamond is so shining and it is an allotrope or a form of carbon. Carbon, which is a non-metal. So diamond, which is a form, it is known as allotrope. Diamond is an allotrope of carbon and it is most shining. So it is an exception. And graphite also, Graphite is also a form of carbon. You know the pencil leads, they are form of graphite, and this is somewhat also shining. So these are exceptions where diamond and graphite, they are shining, although all other non-metals, they are dull in appearance. Now coming to the fourth one, hardness. We know all the metals, they are hard, and they hardness and strength, both we will combine together, hardness and strength, GTH, hardness and strength, because this hardness and strength, both properties are due to one reason. What is that reason? Suppose this is the atoms of metals. They are so close to each other. They are very dense. They are very close to each other, and the bond between them is known as metallic bond. And this bond is very strong bond. We will study two more bonds, ionic bond and covalent bond. But this is the third type of bond, metallic bond, which is very strong, and it is in between the atoms of the metal. Due to this strong metallic bond, they are very hard, and they have more strong, quite strong, and they cannot be break by force or hammering or anything. But again, as we know, exception is there, zinc. Zinc is also a metal, but it is brittle. It can be broken by hammer. And exception for softness are sodium and potassium. They are quite soft in comparison to the other metals. Other metals are hard. Sodium and potassium, they are so soft that they can be cut by a knife. They are quite soft, and even lithium also, sodium, potassium, lithium, they are soft and they can be cut by knife, and they are not so strong. So this is hardness and strength of metals. And here, what is here? They are not so hard, it means they are soft, and they are weak, not so strong, and even they are brittle. Brittle means if they can be powdered or they can be broken into small pieces by applying force or by hammering or something. So soft, most of them are gases, so no question of soft or strong for gases. And if they are solids, they are soft solids. Why they are weak? Because they don't have this metallic bonds in between them. They have other type of bond which is known as weak van der Waal force. Walls. So much, so lengthy the name. Van der Waal is the name of the scientist upon whose name this force is given. The force is, the weak word is added to this force because this van der Waal force, he was a Dutch scientist. So van der Waal force is a weak force, and this force is in between the atoms of non-metals. That's why they are weak and they are soft. So this is about the hardness. Now coming to the fifth point, the next point, you write down all the points in your notebooks and try to learn all the exceptions, because in exams only exceptions are asked. All other properties are of 9th class. So 4, I think 4 we have done. The fifth one is about the density, melting point and boiling point. So metals, they are very dense, you know, ठोस होते हैं. They are very dense. Why they are dense? Because their atoms, they are present very nearby to each other and they are being bonded by metallic bonds. So they are very high density. Melting point and boiling point, it is also very high. The melting point of iron is about 1500 C. So very high melting point and boiling point is there. But exception are there. Mercury, gallium, they have low melting point. So these are the exceptions. In non-metal, they are not so dense, they have low density and low melting point and boiling point. So these are opposite to these, having low melting point and boiling point. Now the next very important 2-3 properties of metal. One is ductility. Ductility. This is most important property of metals. What is ductility? Ductility means the metal can be drawn into a thin, very thin pipe or into very thin wires. So when metal ductile, this duct means duct can be formed into a very thin duct or they can be drawn into very thin wires. This is the most important property of metals, and one example is that from 1 gram gold a 2 kilometer long wire can be prepared. That is, gold is so much ductile. Likewise, silver is also ductile. In olden times, this gold and silver wires, they are used for making clothes, zari ka kapda. So gold and silver wires, they are, because they are most ductile, they are used for weaving clothes. So 1 gram this gold can form 2 kilometer long wire. And one other, tungsten. Tungsten is also a metal. So thin wires are prepared from tungsten. Where do we have tungsten? In the filaments of the bulbs, electric bulbs. So thin wires are prepared from tungsten that they are almost invisible. So thin wires can be prepared because tungsten is most ductile. And here non-metals, they are non-ductile. They cannot be made into wire because they are brittle and wires cannot be prepared. Only a small exception is there, which is of carbon fibers. So nowadays we have carbon fibers or gas carbon. So these carbon can be formed into fiber, which is somewhat similar to wires of metals. So this is the other property. Now the next property is malleability. Malleability. What is malleability? Malleability means these metals, they can be spread in the form of a sheet. By putting pressure, these metals, they can be turned into sheet. You must have heard aluminium foil, which is used in furniture, in food stuffs, or gold foil or silver foil, which is used in sweets. So metal, it is malleable, and thin sheets of metal can be prepared by hammering or putting force. The exception again is of zinc. Zinc cannot be made into sheets as it is brittle. Sheets cannot be prepared by zinc. And here on non-metallic side, they are non-malleable. They cannot be formed into sheets. So this is the 7th property. Now the next property is, what is left? So the 8th may be, what may be the 8th property? Conduction of heat and electricity. The next is conduction of heat and electricity, and this is the last one. Conduction of heat and electricity. So this is the last one, and we know that metals, they conduct heat and electricity both, while non-metals generally they do not conduct, but sometimes exceptions are here also and exceptions are here also. We will do certain experiment to prove that metals conduct heat. First, suppose we take a aluminium wire and put it on two stands, and suppose we put wax drops here, and with these wax drops we attach some paper clips. Wax drops are attached with wax, these paper clips are attached. This aluminium wire or rod, it is being heated from one side. So it is heated from this side. What will happen? The heat travel like this, because it is a conductor of heat. So first this wax will melt and this pin will fall down. Second, this pin will fall down, this pin will fall down. Very simple experiments. So due to the conduction of heat, this wax drops, they are melted, and the pin, it is dropped on the floor. So this is how we can prove that metals conduct heat. This, it is aluminium rod, which is a metal. Now for that metals conduct electricity, we can show it by simple circuit. All of you know. Suppose this is a battery. We form a circuit by this battery, a closed circuit. This is the switch, and suppose a bulb is there. We put a bulb in the circuit. Now this is an open circuit because these are two clips and nothing there in between the clips. And what is there in between the clips? In between the clips there is air. So this is an open circuit. Will the bulb will glow or not? Yes, it will not glow. Why it is not glowing? Because the circuit is incomplete. It is open circuit and the air is between the clips. Air is insulator of electricity. So electricity is not flowing and this bulb is not glowing. What we do next? Now instead of this air, we put a copper rod in between these clips, or aluminium rod or any metal rod. It is put in between these clips. What will happen? The bulb starts glowing. Why it is glowing? Because now the circuit is completed. This is the switch, and due to this metal, the circuit is completed, and as the metal is the conductor of electricity, the bulb is glowing. What we can do next to prove that non-metals, they are non-conductors? Suppose we put a sulfur piece in between these two clips. Should it glow or no? No, it will not glow. Why? Because sulfur is non-metal and it is non-conductor of electricity. When electricity is not flowing, the current is not flowing through sulfur, then the circuit will be incomplete or open and this bulb will not glow. So this experiment proves that metals conduct electricity and non-metals do not conduct electricity. So these are some physical properties of metal. I will see if some is left. No, all we have done. So these are some physical properties, and in next we will do the chemical properties. One thing is left under boiling point. We have said that metals, they have low boiling point and melting point. But exceptions are also there, and silicon, carbon, boron. They have, this is boron, carbon and silicon. They have high boiling point and high melting point. So this is exceptions for boiling point and melting point. So this is all for the physical properties of metal and non-metal. You learn by heart all the exceptions, and in the next video we will do the chemical properties. This is all. Thank you.